Hey guys, going to be reviewing the Pulsar Mini, and although this is at a budget price, really don't let it fool you. This could be your end game, especially if you have smaller hands like myself. I'll quickly go through what's included, features, and shape comparisons and all that stuff. But other than the box, you'll get color coordinated cable, which is actually really good if you have to use it in a bungee while it charges. Dongle extender and the dongle is actually labeled, which is always nice if you have a ton of mice, so you won't lose it like myself. But for the general build quality, it's a huge improvement coming from V1. There's no flex or creaking on this mouse, especially after extended use, compared to my V1, which has the holes on the side as well. But yeah, I really can't get this thing to flex at all, and there's barely any wiggle. You can't really force the buttons to wiggle at all. And the side buttons, in general, just they have a noticeable stop on them, which is very good. Click quality has generally improved on every aspect of the mouse. The mouse wheel click is the perfect tension where you won't accidentally click it, and it's easy enough to click. And they also raise the scroll wheel, which makes scrolling up and down and using the middle click just a bit easier. The main clicks, they're still Kale 8.0s coming from the V1, but they really improve them somehow. They just feel so much crispier and just less pre-travel, and in general they just feel so much nicer. I don't know what they did to improve it, but the tensioning on them is definitely improved, and they feel just a tad bit lighter and spammable. Even the side buttons, although they're still using the micro dots, in my opinion, that's not a big deal, but they actually still improved the micro dots coming from the V1. They're just a bit more tactile, and it makes it a little bit easier to spam. Although I know if you play a game like Fortnite and you use side buttons a ton, it might not be your most favorite, but for any other game like Apex or tactical shooters, Valorant, you'll have no complaints with these, and they're very large in comparison to the general shape of the mouse. So I have no complaints with any of the buttons, and they really did improve it coming from V1 to V2. They're definitely not zowie clicks, but they're pretty far up there. I mean, I don't know how else they could improve this unless they get rid of the split shell design. And on the bottom of the mouse, they're using Pulsar's newer 6mm skates. They're rounded off a lot better compared to the V1 stock skates, and the glide is very good. You don't have to upgrade these unless you want to, but I know they have Tiger Ice feet and core pads available for these mice. They use the exact same mouse skate design, so that's good. This skate design, it's a bit hard to see, but this skate design is really good for all types of mouse pads, and they're rounded off really well, so you won't have any unnecessary roughness. They're using their same 3370 sensor, and it's been proven already. Pulsar has really good wireless tech, so there's no complaints there. Battery life, I got about 1 week of heavy use and 2 weeks of lighter use, so I mean, it's not the best, but there's really, for the price point, there's no complaint. The cable's good enough if you have to use it wired while it charges. But personally, I've never had it run out of battery while I'm playing. It does have a flashing light in the back that will glow bright red once it's starting to lose battery. The mouse weighs about 55 grams, coming from 60 from its bigger brother. But regardless, for a small mouse, the dimensions, it feels really well weight balanced, and there's no complaints about the weight. 55 is still really, really low. There's also software that you can install for the mouse to change its settings, or you can use button combinations, which is in the manual, in case you just want to change the DPI and basic settings without installing software. But Pulsar's software is pretty good in general, so I don't think that's too big of a deal to install something. It's only one software for all their mice, so if you own multiple Pulsar mice, it'll use the same software, which is really nice. So shape comparisons wise, from the mini to the large, with 17:9 hands, I can just show you what it looks like palming it for anyone that might have similar size hands or bigger hands and wants to see how big this mouse actually is. It's a pretty small mouse, so if you have bigger hands, it's probably going to be a claw or fingertip only. You can see just when I palm this mouse how much my fingertips actually overlap. So if you're looking for a palm mouse, the mini definitely probably won't be for you unless you have 17:9 centimeter hands or smaller. But personally, I use this with more of a relaxed claw grip or an aggressive claw grip. And compared to the V1, the smaller size is like so much better for micro adjustments. This fills up so much in my hand, it's hard to make really drastic micro adjustments in comparison. So this is probably my second favorite shape in my collection. It definitely won't be my main mouse, but I can definitely see myself switching to it. In comparison to something like my main, I use a ZA13, so obviously it doesn't have as big as a hump and it's more far forward, but the general dimensions of the mouse are pretty similar other than the larger width. And obviously this is an ERGO, so it's going to be wider and have a much larger finger hump, but between the two I can pretty much use the same grip. And yeah, the lower weight is definitely appreciated with a smaller mouse like this. So in conclusion, for the price and if you have smaller hands, I definitely recommend you should try this mouse out. It has really good features, has really good build quality, especially for the price. And if the holes at the front bother you or the sides bother you, you can buy grips which are already made for them. This mouse could really be someone's endgame, especially if you like ergo mice and you have smaller hands. There's nothing like this other than the Skull Mini, and if you buy a Skull Mini, you have to deal with the G-Wolf's build quality, so I'd definitely be taking the Pulsar Mini over that. And they also have their asymmetrical mouse coming out later this year, so I'm excited to see what Pulsar releases. I'm a really big fan of their products in general. They've been releasing good stuff since they've started making mice. Yeah, that's about it. Peace.